Yeah. See, I'm jamming. That's what like a DJ set for avant-garde performance and field recordings should be, where you just play someone else's found sounds and field recordings and, you know, object performances, and then you free improvise over that. But you spin it through CDJs. You know, you give the appearances of a proper DJ set. Someone's probably done that already. If they haven't, now's your chance. There's the idea. Go for it. I don't have time to do it myself. Hope everybody is doing quite well on this March evening, late March evening. This Saturday, it's my birthday, turning 35. We out here. It's Aries season. You know what I mean? It's been a wild one. Getting a massage. Going to the spa with the missus. Going out for dinner. All that fun stuff. It's Aries season. Time to kick in the door, but also be like extroverted in your security, but introverted in your insecurity or something, you know? I feel like that's the vibe. That's the vibe of our Aries. At least myself. Yeah. That's next weekend. So Sunday sessions, it's happening, but it's going to be all birthday themed, only birthday submissions allowed. Yeah, we like almost the same age, I guess. 35. 35, you know. What's that Master Shake quote from Aqua Teen? It's like, I am 30 or 40 years old, and I don't need this right now. I am 100% smack dab in the middle of that right now. So, and I definitely don't need this right now, whatever this is. Don't need it. But yeah, welcome to the Parrotsky birthday week. You in my world now, baby. So we have a new course announcement for those interested. I polled the Discord. You asked, I'm delivering. We have ourselves a online only course coming up with discounts for the patrons. Group Critique Fight Club presents Concrete, Foley Arts, and sample-based composition. 3-part online workshop starting on Wednesdays, April 15th, 22nd, and 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern, hosted entirely over Zoom. And I have discount links for patrons. You know, everything's pretty reasonably priced anyways to begin with, but for anybody that needs that discount link, if you're watching right now and you want that link, say so in the chat. I'll shoot it to you You know, I'll be loosey goosey with it if you're serious about joining. We will be doing a workshop in 3 parts where we will discuss the trajectory of electronic music and sound design through 3 specific topics, and that is musique concrète, the earliest form of electronic music, Foley arts, the act of recording sound effects for visual media and or media in general, and sampling. And I would assume that most people are familiar with that term in music. It's open to all artists of all backgrounds and experience level. The only requirement is that you have access to Zoom and some sort of recording device. Zoom as in the chat, the video chat software, not a Zoom recording device, though you should have access to some sort of recording device as well as a digital audio workstation. But that recording device can be your phone. It doesn't need to be anything high tech. So for anybody interested, let me know. I will shoot you over the discount code for that workshop. If not, I will be putting the standard link to the workshop registration in the show notes when I post the pod version of this later this evening. Cool. Sign up for that. Y'all got the monthly project due a week from today. We have David Moore coming on, going to listen to your works, solo performances, solo silence, and all that fun stuff. You know the deal. Remember to submit your work to the monthly project stream, or rather thread on the Discord for that. And that will happen regular time on Monday next week. Exactly a week from today. So get it in. It'll be fun. You won't regret it. David is a lovely guy. Very sweet mensch. The Kansas mensch. Coming in hot to listen to your work and provide you with sagely wisdom. All right. We got ourselves some more tracks, some of which we're going to do one track from last week. And I know we had what do we got? Who was it that submitted? Right. Axel had submitted one from last week, but he also submitted a new one for today. So we're going to choose the new one as he had asked for. And we got some new tracks from other folks. Awesome. Starting off, Breath Play. Back at it again. I'm developing an original Breath Play track using musical ideas I came up with a hardware improvisation from a previous project. This version is just a scaffolding, adapting parts from the old version and arranging them in a loose structure with mostly placeholder sounds. I would like ideas for sound design, production, and mixing to flesh this out. It's jazzy in a terse third stream kind of way, and I'd like to take cues from artists like Photek, who can invoke jazz in a DAW context without making you miss human players, although I might have a sax player do some atonal overblowing on it. All right. This track is called This Isn't What I Want, version 2. Let's get it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Give me that hocketing, rhythmic phasing, minimalist rhythm. Yeah, the dawn of MIDI particles are off the charts on this one. Um, is there a way to make it minor rather than major? Part of me is just like dying for that major third to be a minor third because it happens so often, and it's like the second you say dawn of MIDI, I understood what you were going for here, but so much of that is just kind of like cloaked in like a bit of longing, a bit of melancholia that like I don't know. I know we're not supposed to be just like major equals happy, minor equals sad. We're not supposed to be as we could get deeper than that, than the layman terms, the surface level descriptors. Part of me just was all the other parts were sort of vehicles for a melancholy, for a darkness. But the major third was throwing me off slightly with that. um, okay, I wonder if that will detract from the emotional ambiguity of it. Though, interesting. Okay, so that might be. I mean, it's definitely ambiguous right now, and that's if that's an intentionality there, then yes, there's a surrealism to the ambiguity here that's on par with a Badalamenti, sneaky, almost like black comedy style of emotional ambiguity where there's like a bit of humor in the major, but also this slyness, this subversion, that's also, adding tension. You do have both here. So there's if the ambiguity is the name of the game as far as like emotional takeaway, then I'm cool with that. Definitely. Oh, a track about being unsure of oneself. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So let's not talk about tonality for now then. Just thinking about production in the vein of Dawn of MIDI. I think that's actually a really good framework for the type of sound design and sort of mix-based effects that you can apply here. Because, like, what is Dawn of MIDI? It's a drummer with a hi-hat, floor tom, and a snare, right, and kick. A sort of slightly deconstructed kit. And we have a pianist playing the grand piano with basically one-handed parts and using their right hand to play the part and their left hand to create preparations on the strings and kind of enhance and excite various overtones based on, basically hovering over parts of the strings by hand. And then you have an upright bassist who is doing basically only plucking rather than bowing, but also playing with varying degrees of harmonic intensity up and down the neck of the bass to sort of create some harmonic emphasis and sweeps, as well as more thudding percussive elements like bass percussion sort of elements here. So if you were to break down that and find the analogous sort of effects or techniques that you can apply to your individual tracks here, I mean, like right off the bat, like the mess with the filter and the envelope to start as kind of like the analogy of putting your hands on the strings of the piano and finding ways to enhance both harmonics and then the sustain, the percussiveness and the decay of the piano. That's filtering and enveloping right there. You know what I mean? Do you think live automations for this? So that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because I mean, I'm sure you could come up with some cool ideas live with that, but I'm thinking more like if you were to do it live, I wouldn't like improvise that. I would come up with a plan at least in which like you could do the rough, the broad strokes automation with a point and click, and then go in and be a little more minutia, a little more detailed with your hand automation or something like that. I don't know. It's more like, what's the bottom line here? Like, if it's very slow sort of filter sweep over the course of like 8 repetitions of a phrase or something like that? Does that need to be done by hand or automated with a point and click? Like, you tell me, like, what is the purpose of it serving as that gesture, you know? And then just like across the board, like, is there an equivalent in your drums of turning the snare on versus turning it off? You know what I mean? Like starting with more of a dong, like a more resonant, more pitched sort of timbre to it, and then becomes a more noise based, you know, as you turn the snare on. Things like that. Like, what are the sort of physical modeling techniques that you could apply to your synths to sort of recreate that dawn of MIDI sort of minimalism, but like, you know, very effective gradual changes to the timbre of those three instruments, you know? Kareem saying you can make a main version and then a bunch of dubs. Yes, it does. It absolutely has the stuff for it. Yeah, it'd be interesting if you did like a point and click automation version versus a handmade dub automation version, and then do like multiple versions of that based on like, you know, changing envelope and filter versus doing, you know, broad strokes echo across the board. There's different, yeah, I mean, this definitely has the juice for it. It looks like Kareem's already volunteering for the remixes on this. I don't think this needs like dense work when it comes to sound design. I think like falling in line with the sort of Dawn of MIDI model as reference is actually kind of a cool idea, being that they're an entirely acoustic trio and this is an entirely electronic piece inspired by those folks. You know, like, what can you do effectively with very little change, you know? I mean, yeah, I think that would be like the most important thing to think about here is just like, what are like the 2 or 3 variables per instrument that can be shifted over the course of this piece that very noticeably over time, like, change the timbre of the instruments themselves, you know? Where are the, like, the pressure points per each of these instruments? Yeah, this is a strong piece, though. I'm definitely a fan. Was this coming from the dictionary days? Was this like hardware with the just like the live synth? Curious where this is crossed over from, or if this is just a proto breath play track that is now becoming a proper breath play track. Yeah, cool stuff. Cool. Want to hear new versions? Get in the mix. Okay, who we got? Okay, got Jesse again. An update from what I shared last Sunday. Please play from 1 minute to 6 minutes. I've decided to keep this recording as a solo mix while reworking the Euro patch it came from for improvising with a collaborator. Main thing I'm struggling with is whether some additions were superfluous or not. I added a one-note drone to fill things out and feel undecided about it. Tried adding multiple elements. This was my favorite. Since there's very little high-frequency content, I added a filtered loop RCA cable noise. Nice. It seems to add a nice aesthetic since I use dirt and downsampling on the whole mix, but worry it sounds hokey. Hokey pokey. Also, not sure if it will come through the stream, but the limiter on my master track adds noticeable clicky distortion. Seems to happen when there are signs or other simple tones. Would love advice on how to address before doing trial and error on settings. Cool. Okay, so we'll listen to minute 1 through 6. Let me get that up here. Let me buffer that. All right. right. Gonna cut it there for now, just for sake of time. Good stuff from Jesse. I feel like the and I don't know if this is just sort of demoing, jamming on it, sort of updates on the patch as a performance sort of tool here. Just like the length of the recording being almost over 7 minutes long, and having the drums come in so late. I feel like it could be a little more maybe symmetrical as far as well, maybe not symmetrical is the word, but even-handed as far as like when the drums can come in. Like if this came in halfway through, there could be like more time for you to develop the drum pattern rather than have it just go boom, 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 boom. Like we can have it spread that out so there's less happening earlier on. What if it just started out with the clicking? Kind of sounds like when I make like dolphin noises with the side of my lip. That's a good one, right? Kind of sounded like that, but like imagining that starting out on its own, just like kind of less happening there for one part, and then slowly develop it more, bring in the sort of bass drum sort of sound in there. But rather than just like turning on the sequence, boom, it's happening. How could we develop that more even-handed, a little bit more gently, as far as the arrangement goes with that sort of part? Yeah. Sounds like trap rapper ad-libs. Yeah, that's right. That's right. What type of rapper is doing that? Who's doing that? No one's on my wave. We're on that post wave. Thinking about like what you could do just from I wasn't really hearing like limiter problems with that. I was just wondering if like, because there's no real high end activity in this mix so far, like if you utilized an exciter, for example, if you utilized some sort of specific harmonic enhancing saturation device, that would basically tickle the inaudible high or the quieter harmonic frequencies that are in the higher range, that would brighten this up. Like an exciter would be really interesting on the drones going on here, because and I'm not saying like it needs to be like something that is constant, but like it could be developed towards, it's not even opening up the filter, it's really just like slightly distorting, saturating the harmonic series so that the high ends just are more jagged waveforms rather than basic waveforms, or simple waves, It's a fun way to turn something that's pretty low heavy, sine wave heavy, warm sounding. It's an effective way to brighten it up without more traditional synthesis of just opening up the filter and resonance and stuff like that. So exciters would be really fun across the board on this, and that includes the drums. Like those kicks are all kind of feel very muffled in a like you said, like kind of intentional bit crushy kind of way, but like with bit crush you could still get a lot of high frequencies out. I would really love to hear more like a pop to that kick. You know what I'm saying? As far as like the idea of it being like superfluous sort of arrangement and stuff, I don't think so. You're making drone music, it's definitely in the vein of folks like Eliane Redig, the late great. There doesn't need to be silence or not just constant oscillations occurring. Kind of simple. If you feel like there's too much happening at once, like the easy way to just like experiment with there being less is to just apply LFOs to your, the I guess, envelope or the amplitude, right? Yeah, that's what it is. LFOs to the amplitude so that it, creates just like constant fade ins and fade outs. And you can apply them at different speeds to the different oscillators here. So you end up with more breathing room between the individual notes of the polyphony of the drone. You know what I'm saying? If you're splitting those out into stems, there's a lot you could do even in post, not just part of the synthesizer, but just like in post. Create automation lanes of volume. Create your own LFOs just by hand per track if you want to try that out. And then if it's stemmed out, you could create that much more width to these individual tracks. You can have. That's the other thing I think that you could work on here is just like more deliberate stereo imaging. Right now it does feel a little centered. So I'm curious, how you're recording this. If you're working with stems, by all means, if it's not just one stereo live take, experiment with where the sounds are coming from, not just like how often they're there, but like, and if they move, using the stereo image doesn't need to be stagnant in one place versus another. You can create movement there, Think about that. Just think about like how many stacks you got as far as instrumentation goes and how much control or deliberate sort of individuality do you want there to be. I'm not giving you like the correct idea here. It's just like an idea if you wanted to create a bit more subtlety or individuality between the notes of the polyphony of the drone, if you feel like your gut is telling you it's a little superfluous, like I wouldn't necessarily subtract things altogether, but find ways to differentiate. You know what I'm saying? Think about that. Drone City. Thank you, Jesse. All right, we got another one from Cuckoo. Coco. They wrote, excerpt from a live I played yesterday. Feels complete on its own. Ambiente this time, inspired by Japanese piano music like Sakamoto and Hamauzu. I don't know how to pronounce it. I used the Iwato scale for this one, sprinkled in some live Foley improv. Ooh, we getting specific here. Okay. Cuckoo. Toyotism. Let's go. right, all right, all right. Very nice. Does this get called Is it? Are we calling this ambient? Are we calling this ambient? I don't know, man. I don't know. Despite there being nice, timbres here, pleasing to the ear. I don't know. There's plenty of rhythmic ambient music out there. I wouldn't have necessarily put that in there. I would have expected a bit more talk about stereo image, like width to this. Like I would have loved for that sort of like hard pulsing going on to be, bringing out. I think it's ambient. Okay, speed ambient. I like that. I like that. Cool. Thinking about more like Alva Noto and Ryoji Akita, sort of IDM-y glitched percussion sort of bits of audio pulsating in here, to be working in some sort of panned fashion where we hear like, but like with each note coming from a different space in the stereo image between left, center, and right. How do we expand the width of these things? I think that's like, to me, I was thinking it's too centered for it to be ambient. If we widen it out, if we create more spaciousness, literal ambience, environment to this, I think we would be, cooking with that much more gas. You know what I'm saying? And then thinking about like the harmonic material itself, whether that's piano, I'm not sure, but like, treating it, if we're referencing Sakamoto here, like, doesn't need to be a lot happening here, but the usage of both hands and creating, accompanying harmony for some sort of simple melody, left hand versus right hand, counterpoint between hands, things like that. That's important. I feel like this could be developed a little bit more from the compositional side as far as like what the real nitty gritty, like harmonic and melodic content of this is. It doesn't need to be developed like a song. Like I totally understand the sort of trajectory of being in a cloud here. We're in a space and it's just completely linear and then it's done. I think that's totally fine because this is, like you said, I think you said this was part of a jam, right? Played live yesterday. Okay, cool. So this is part of a jam. I mean, like, what parts are being played live? Are you playing the keys parts? Are those samples that are being triggered? And is everything through sequencers or some sort of generative instrumentation here? If it's working with samples, then just get even more raw materials to work with. Like expand on the harmonic and melodic content of here. But if you're playing this by hand, I mean, give yourself a little patience. I'm manipulating MIDI and adding some Foley. So this is pre-recorded MIDI or pre-composed MIDI in that sense. In which case, develop that further. Develop that MIDI content further ahead of time. Give yourself a larger library of gestures, a larger library of musical material from this kind of raw perspective here. Oh, cool. So you're using Music Mouse. All right, nice. The new, or rather remade version of the original Laurie Spiegel software. Let me know how that is. I'm curious about that. I'm trying to get Music Mouse. My birthday's Saturday, y'all. I want Music Mouse and I want the GRM Atelier granular synth. Okay, someone cop it for me, y'all. You don't have to do that. They're kind of expensive, but those are on my to-do list as far as things I gotta check out. So this is in the traditional Music Mouse sort of way. It's generating MIDI that you are, or rather, it's doing live processing of MIDI information. It's good, but it's weirdly it's not a VST. Interesting. It's standalone, staying true to its form, because that existed before VSTs. Interesting. Can't use it as a plugin, only as a standalone. I kind of respect that. I mean, you could work a way around that, but very cool. Very cool. Alls I'm saying is that if you're working with pre-made MIDI information, you can create more of it to work with. You know, develop that further. I would have liked a little bit more sort of an arc to it. It felt melodically kind of one zone a little bit. We could find a way to expand upon that. Yeah. There you go, Kareem. Go get it. I need a full report on the Music Mouse. But yeah, that other tool, the GRM Atelier, looking fucking crazy. Funded by the French government. That's French government sponsored a granular sampler and production suite. I could send MIDI to Ableton, but it creates a queer. Yeah, that's your CPU going wild when you have that crackling sound occur. We've all been there. Yeah, don't do that. That's probably why they don't have it as a VST, because it's probably like such a crazy CPU sucker. Interesting. That's how it is with VCV Rack too, you know. Technically you can get that as a VST too, but it's so fucking much, it sucks so much compute. You know what I mean? Good stuff. Develop this further. Give me some more impressionism. Let's hear it from you. All right. We got a track from Axel, I believe. They wrote, update to what I said last Sunday. Still a bit unsure if I'm missing elements or I have too many of them from 3:30 to the end. I feel it's lacking the intensity I crave on the part at 4:30, but everything I add just makes it non-discernible soup of sounds. Add more harmonies, other arpeggio, other synth, more samples. Sounded like a sound mass to me. All right, let's check it. Axel's Museum of Us version 5. Oh yeah. I know we went a little bit over on time with that one, but I didn't want to cut it off cuz the transition between the first two thirds and the final third were crucial. Uh we had played the first version of that over a week ago on a Sunday session from last week. No ending, take it all back. Okay, yes, that was going to be the first thing I said. Axel, we need an ending here. What it sounded like to me though was a quick cutout with a tail, and the tail just got cut off by the bounce. So Axel, remember to include your tail in your bounce on that if you want to have a quick sort of just shutter off while letting the delay sort of sputter out on its own. Don't let the file get cut off there. Let's get that whole thing in there. As far as the composition goes, I mean, like, I think this is really, really tasteful. Knowing your work, knowing that you do a lot of, it's for visual media as well as it is music on its own. It's obviously like meant to have these big sort of dynamic moments, and the usage of you're really covering all your bases from the instrument sections here, between, like you said, like you're using a lot of, adding a new harmony there, adding a new arpeggiator, some sort of melodic element, some sort of percussive element on the low end. You know what I mean? And percussive in the pitch percussion too. A lot of these arpeggiations here, sort of playing the marimba role to some extent. I think it's great. I'm now I just want to know like what it's being paired with from a visual perspective. Because I can only imagine this being like very much about the overloading sensories to some extent. The bright moments of this musically, I'm sure are covered by some very bright moments visually. I would just hope that the visual dynamism matches the musical as well. But that last ending, the usage of we talked about like in long form electronic composition, like in Burial and things like that, where we have downtime where there might just be sort of in transit between sections. We're hearing Foley or we're hearing field recordings as sort of the air between movements, but it's the same recording, right? It doesn't cut out. There's no true silence. There's just air, as if you're outside going from place to place. You had that here, and not just in that final, second to that final the transition to the outro, but at other points as well, including the intro. Like it was very patient. But like the usage of sort of like entering and exiting a space felt that much more deliberate and conscious. So bravo as far as how you arrange this. I don't think it's superfluous. I think it does a very good job on its own. I wouldn't add anything else to it. Yeah, like Breathplay says, it has just the right amount of stuff. Anything more you do, and it will be overworking it. Yeah, I think this is quite good. But we need that ending. I think it could be even more than just a quick fade out. Find a more deliberate ending. We've talked about it before. It's very easy to do an intro. It's hard to do an outro. It's easy to do a beginning. It's hard to end something, I'm not you're not the only one. But let's get something more deliberate on the record here. Oh, I gotta pick up this cable. It's been on the floor. I'm gonna coil this cable live on the air. Yeah. Very strong stuff from Axel. Good stuff. Okay. We have 3 short ones from Kareem. And then I moved Kema to the end, but they had to dip. But if we got time, we'll listen. Kareem has sent us 3 short ones. Feeling like I might as well play guitar more. 3 short excerpts from over the past few years before I switched over to the approach I take when I play now. So we listen to that old Kareem in 3 parts. We have Cobblestone, Song for Ramona, Can't Hear You, Loop 67, and Absolution. I'm going to play them in order. Let's go. I'm going to listen to all three of those again. Too short. Too short. From the top. Yeah. Yeah. I think, like Breathplay said, like this is creating the foundations for wet music when they write. I would like the guitar to be wet music more than it is now. Don't know what that would look like in context of your practice. I think that this is the sparseness of the guitar is there in some of your new stuff. This feels still very much in loop form. These are teasers, these are samples, right? How do we develop these phrases more as songs? Just as songs. We don't need to overthink that. And then bringing that into the ethos of wet music, a la some field recording or ability to sort of blend this into a physical space, a speculative space of sorts, And then, like, what is the lead melody here, Felt like on that second one, the loop one that was only in the left channel, there was some vocals going on there that were kind of, well blended into the sort of oversaturated mix there. But we need more of that. Simple stuff. Humming, Caroline style, Give us some longing, give us some wailing, but like back away from the mic, you know what I mean? Not shoegaze. Not loud in that way. Individual finger picking is still like, hearing that intimacy, I think, is important to this. I'm a big fan of your tone. The tone has to remain, some spring reverb and tube saturation. I think you got a lot to work with right there. Combining that with some speculative spatial found sounds that you've designed yourself, Tap into the Caroline more, exactly. I think that's it. They're kind of their own island of sound right now. Someone described them to me as folk, because they have, I guess, fiddling style violin, but I don't know if that's the right word. I think post-rock is a fine descriptor because it's so broad on its own. And that includes what I'm imagining this type of wet music to be is an offshoot of post-rock. We've already talked about the Tortoise influence on this, There's a tastefulness. Tortoise, I guess, gets called post-rock, even though they're definitely not the quiet, loud, traditional sort of slinty or explosions in the sky sort of stuff, They're in their own league, And they're the father of, not Netspend, the other one. Who's the one whose dad is in Tortoise? Come on, Kareem. Help me out here. Hot take. Tortoise is jazz. It's not hot. That's not a hot take. Two Hollis, son of Tortoise. That's right. That boy, we can firmly say, not so much his dad, but his mom. His dad too. Firmly say the Nepo charges stick with that one. Just too Hollis, too furious. Yes. Good stuff. Add some guitar to the new stuff. I'm trying to hear that. I'm trying to hear it. Let's get it. Come on now. Write some songs. Write some guitar music. Bring it into the fold. Let's hear some new stuff. Not the old stuff, the new stuff. All right. Good shit. Well, I'm going to put Kemah on the top of the queue for April because I want them here. I'd love to hear what they have to say. All right, y'all. Y'all have a monthly project due a week from today. Y'all have yourself a merry little Christmas. No. Sign up for the Concrete Foley and sampling class if you want. That'll be fun. It'll be cool. We'll all be there having a good time. Do the monthly project. Do next week. Same time. We will be on next Sunday. We will be having our post-Paritsky birthday celebration live stream in which you will all send me serial numbers to expensive plugins for free for my birthday. That is required of you. You already confirmed you're doing it. It's happening. You can't take it back. No backsies. I've already on the record. Everybody, please send me their social security number for my birthday. It's all that I ask. Thank you very much. All right, y'all. I will see you next weekend. Hope you have a lovely week. Keep making music, work on your projects, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.